The rainy season started May 5th and WASA was still sending press releases about the dry season. That's the entire story right there. But let's go deeper because water problems in Trinidad and Tobago isn't about rain. I made a video last week about WASA shutting down for maintenance and so many people commented on that video about not having water. Raised a very big question. How come in this developed country of Trinidad and Tobago there's still so many people that do not have access to reliable water supply? WASA loses 40 to 60 million gallons of water every single day. Not because people are wasting it, but because of broken pipes. Old, crumbling, broken pipes. Nearly half of WASA's entire pipeline network is past its useful life. Some of these pipelines has been in the ground for over 60 years. Public Utilities Minister himself stood up at a regional conference and said that 50% of all water supply doesn't even reach its citizens. Then he went in Parliament and said that this wasn't true. This isn't miscommunication. This is gaslighting. Now, what's the cost to actually fix all these pipelines? Some experts say $2 to $3 billion is needed to fix the pipeline network in Trinidad and Tobago. WASA's own numbers say that they lose $287 million every single year from water that is not used. This means that they produce it, it was paid for, but it just was never delivered. Ministry says that they fixed over 30,000 pipelines in the past year, but yet still there are so many people in Trinidad and Tobago, thousands, that are still rationing their supply and filling their buckets. These figures are actually true, and then there should be a report saying that where these pipelines was fixed and the specifics of it, because I was looking for a report somewhere and I couldn't find any information on these 30,000 pipelines that was fixed. In Trinidad right now we're dealing with 60 years of deferred maintenance, convenient excuses, and a utility minister that contradicts himself in the same news cycle. The question isn't why the water shortage is happening. The question is who keeps letting it happen. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave your area and if you're having any water problems as of 2026. Leave it in the comment section below and let's see your opinion. Like and follow as always.
Buying water! Who paying that? I have to pay all you. We have to pay all you. We have to send children to school.
The last time we had water was February 15th. Right? Nothing.
And as their laundry piles up, frustration mounts.
You have to use a bucket bath. You cannot wash like how you would normally wash.
Every day for 2 weeks and still don't get it.
They say businesses are affected.
Our preschool has to close in Woodland. Our vendors cannot sell. We have no taxi service, and those who do manage to pass here, they have increased their fare. So where is the courtesy?
Saparium.
Just 4 days ago, one of the UNC's propagandists came out and said, you see, this is why you all voted us in. We fixed flooding. 4 days later, the universe is like, okay, bet.
I'll let my house flood out in Penal. Pressure in the camp.
Pensioner forced from home as flood waters rise. So we have reports of flooding in Penal, Barbados, and other parts in South. And the irony isn't lost on me that the first places to flood after they talk that nonsense was South. And this is why humans with sense understand you don't politicize certain things like natural disasters, crime, health issues, because the universe has a way of reminding you that it can happen to you too, or your area. Someone told me that he was a lecturer at UA, and I am still doubting it to this day. Like to this day, I'm still doubting it, because if he could be coming on social media and talking this level of nonsense publicly, imagine what he was saying behind closed doors in halls giving a lecture. If that is true and he really was a lecturer at UE, there needs to be some kind of reevaluation of every student that passed through one of his classes, because I'm sure they're out there talking nonsense right now. And hey, me go, I know you're running to AI propaganda page where you're going to start posting angrily, but wait, give it an hour again. I have this video and then I have one coming on Philip shortly after this. So when I post that, maybe you and him get team up like Voltron and start posting all the AI shit on social media. Don't spread yourself too thin. Move smart, don't move wild.
Do you know that 80% of the population receive water from WASA 24 hours a day for at least 3 days of the week? Well, that's the assertion being put forward by Minister of Public Utilities, Marvin Gonzalez.
80% now enjoy a level of service of 24/3 and above. Some areas getting 24/3, some areas getting 24/4, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And that is because of the hard work that we have done in every nook and every cranny in this country.
An elated Marvin Gonzalez said the hard work at the Water and Sewage Authority WASA and the Community Water Improvement Program has made wonders, especially in the southwestern peninsula of the island, noting that 55,000 residents have just seen a reliable and safe pipe-borne water supply.
I say, no, we're going to drill and we're going to find the water. We reach a stage now where the thing's so good that we are approaching surplus water. You know what surplus water means? You have real water. You have water to make Iowa George look irrelevant too.
So let's say the minister is correct that 80% of the population in Trinidad and Tobago get water at least 3 days for the week for 24 hours for the day. Why not present this information with the communities as well that receive water? Because when you go onto social media and you look at the news and you hear MPs and councillors talk, one of the things that they always raise is that people within my area are not getting water. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then they have to go and privately source the water. I'm not saying that the minister is telling an untruth, but the way for people to believe this is for them to put out through WASA a statement saying, well, 80% yes, and these are the communities that we are referring to. Because I can go out and say the same thing, but without people verifying this, WASA telling us which communities are getting the water, So, tell us in the comments which area you're from and how often you get the water based on what the Minister of Public Utilities is saying.
The Water and Sewage Authority has condemned the brazen act of vandalism perpetrated at the Beach Booster Station early on Tuesday morning, which led to a complete power failure at the facility. WASA said the incident forced the Beach Booster Station offline at 6 a.m., disrupting water supply to several communities. The authority noted that critical electrical wires were missing at the facility. It said the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission, TNTEC, was immediately notified of the damage, and teams from both utilities are on the ground and working to repair the damaged electrical infrastructure and restore normal operations. Due to the incident, residents in Charuma, Beach, and Plumita are currently experiencing low water pressure or interruptions in service. The authority is reminding that vandalism of public property is a criminal offense and is urging citizens to respect public facilities and infrastructure as acts of vandalism undermine WASA's ability to provide reliable water and wastewater services.
Imagine in this day and age, WASA is threatening to fine anyone who gets caught using a water hose a fee of $75. Farmers in Trinidad and Tobago are being threatened with a fine if they get caught using river water to water their crops, as though food security is not a big deal in Trinidad and Tobago, as though the prices of food and food products are not at an all-time high, and then we wonder why. But here's some food for thought. How come the bottled water companies in Trinidad and Tobago, particularly one with a blue label, how come they are allowed to use water that comes out of a spring and put it into a plastic bottle and then sell it back to the consumers in Trinidad and Tobago? But farmers aren't allowed to use the same water to water their crops that would feed an entire nation. But just in case you're wondering, these same bottled water companies are financiers of a particular political organization. And the people of Trinidad and Tobago will continue to eat watergrass and call it salad, while we allow these entities to run amok of our nation. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below.
No, say something wrong, you know. Me know say something wrong. Well, I get to find out they lock off the surge overseas. So, lock off the surge, them lock off the surge too for 4 years. So you know say definitely it's going to be a water problem, a water crisis, because we need water to do a lot of things. Me I reason with my friend and my friend check it up on the internet and for find out if it's going to be affected Jamaica. Yes, it's going to be affected Jamaica, because there's a case that we do a lot of export, right? So it can affect we whole heap. Imagine you lock off the server, pump so many water, and you lock it off for 4 years, something is not right. And then your ear Bill Gates, make I put it in a video, your ear Bill Gates, or way more name, attack it, say water gonna be like oil. Water gonna be like oil. What more you want? What more you want, Jamaicans, for get up the time where we're there and I worry about mix up and I worry about things. We're not supposed to worry about the real things. Don't wait till when it later you start have food shortage. This a shortage, yeah, run go get this, yeah, run go get bread, yeah, run go get that. Stock up while you can. Stock up while you can. Stock up while you can. It is so serious going wagwan. Every scroll, me hear the overseas people them a talk about it. Me hear one man who work for Amazon. Him dead and him a say, him no know but something going on. Him no know but something going on. Him say, him always deliver to the riches them. But him realize say, the riches them just a order food, so just a order food, so just a order food. So him say to one of them say, why are you stocking up with so much food and water? What's going on? So him say, him no know, but him instinct tell him to stock up. Him know what is it, but him just don't want to talk. Him just don't want to talk. I'm gonna see if I find a video if I put it with that video here. We have to get up. Something is going on and it's gonna affect us. We might feel like it now gonna affect we, it gonna affect we. We feel like it now gonna affect we as Jamaican, it gonna affect we. Because remember this, we export a lot. A lot. Most of the food them don't come from Jamaica. So we are gonna feel it. So don't get up now and say one.
Look, USWR, the United States Water Reserve, will be one of the greatest wealth explosions of this century. Fresh water is the new oil. This is going parabolic.
Here's exactly what Bill Gates is talking about. It's already on Coinbase and it's called USWR, the United States Water Reserve. Almost nobody understands the severity of it, but stay with me. Bill Gates, the same guy that has predicted every global crisis and has profited billions off it, has been buying almost all of America's water supply. AI is surging behind the scenes and is generating enormous heat, demanding constant cooling which consumes billions of gallons of water, really draining our national supply and making water increasingly scarce and precious. The United Nations has confirmed this. With this in mind, water is becoming extremely valuable as there is less and less of it. There's this video going viral of this billionaire Dan Pena, and he's saying that water is the next gold. That super elite families such as the Rockefellers have been buying water rights for 100+ years. This CNN article just leaked. Gates has been surging the United Nations to secure a blockchain solution for the pending water famine that is set to hit. What asset do you think he's talking about? That's right, USWR. Blockchain confirms that BlackRock-linked wallets have been already accumulating USWR within 72 hours of that Bill Gates interview. No announcements. They've been loading up for weeks while the public has no idea. The largest asset manager in the world does not make random moves just like this, without knowing what's signed and sealed. This is where I threw some of my capital in. I just pulled up the website uswr.ai and it's right there. Trump is set to sign the framework on July 4th. It was rescheduled from June 19th, following the Iran peace deal, to give the announcement a full moment. When Trump signs this framework on July 4th, billions of dollars are projected to flow into this single asset. Current levels, we're looking at a 200x from here. $1,000 would become 200,000, and 5,000 would become a million. Gates warned the UN, he warned the G7, and now he's warning you. Like I said before, it's available on Coinbase. Before you make a decision, make sure you have the right information correct. Contract address ends with USWR. Position yourself correctly. And if you don't use Coinbase Wallet, it's also available on Phantom. But as always, it's not financial advice and always do.
The people who rank Trinidad and Tobago amongst the happiest people on this earth really don't understand what we really go through. So let's get into the inefficiencies of WASA. So 600,000 affected as the high heats dries up WASA's water. So WASA, you telling me we don't have a conservation or storage of water for times like these? Now I understand that the sun is really hot and we haven't seen a considerate amount of rain in a period of time, right? But you telling me WASA, with the amount of money that is financially allocated to y'all, right, we haven't put in place a proper conservation of water for times like this? Water isn't something that is free in this country. Everyone pays WASA for water. So you all haven't put things in place. Like, you all don't have a financial obligation to actually put things in place in case of emergencies. That's what you all telling me? And look at the high number of people that would be affected. This isn't right. And it's sad because I cannot list one thing that WASA does 100% properly. Like, no, really and truly, name something that WASA does that is 100% great. Try. So let me know, what do you all think about 600,000 people being affected due to lack of rain and high heat? Don't you all think that WASA should have a conservation of water put in place for times like this, for any kind of emergency? Like, really and truly, WASA is a joke. WASA is a joke to public utilities. WASA has to be one of the biggest jokes in the Caribbean. Let me know what you all think.
Yeah, about a year ago, I did a video about this leaking tank, and to this day, nothing has been done to it. Watch the state of this tank. Watch the road. Watch where the water running, causing moss along the walkway, causing a danger.
And mind our business. Are we really being told the truth about what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago investment outlook? Many of us are hearing that the future is bright like the stadium light bulb. But what are we supposed to think when major international companies are leaving? Local businesses are crying out for support, and investments appears to be slowing. We have seen gas companies exit, energy plants left to idle, and even our regional partners, neighbors, don't even want to talk gas with us. Now our state-owned Caribbean Airlines has reportedly dropped a local water supply company for a foreign one. As a matter of fact, I am attempting to take off the label because that was purported or reported in the news media. And as I do that, there's some questions. Government, could you tell us what is happening with our country? What is our real status? What are you going to do to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago looks attractive to investors? Because investors brings jobs. People don't want the promises anymore. They don't want the unlabeled water anymore. They want to see that you are doing the best that you can, and you're being transparent to all of us. They're looking for transparency, direction, and confidence in the country's economic future. So with that, and mind our business.
Trinidad and Tobago, pleasant good morning. Now, excuse the background and the background cream. Yeah, excuse the background and the check cream and something. Yeah, don't let that bother all you. Right? Now, this is not what this video is about. I came across this video with this TikToker. Her handle will be on the video. Very informative. And too much for me to put in my own words because I think she did an excellent job at it. And I want you all to listen to this video because this video, it answered a lot of questions in my head and it joined a lot of dots, and you know, it made things make sense now. And I want you all to listen to it with an open mind and take what you need and leave what you don't. But listen to it, and I am going to share some of her videos, other videos on my platform. But listen to the video and see if things making sense now to you. Have a listen.
Isn't like everybody clueless as to what really going on and what direction it's going. So let me enlighten you all as to why our government or our prime minister is running a race behind the 1%. Stick with me, it will get good. You'll see the picture soon enough. Now, back in 2013, 2014, we were supposed to have a drill purchase that would have tapped into the oil reserve that was actually in Trinidad and Tobago waters, but the land space and rock formation down there was actually blocking the current drills that we had from reaching it, nor was it able to expand itself to get to the pathway of the drills that we had. Now, this was verified by someone who works in the oil field, right? So when I was saying it and people thought it was madness, he jumped on to say, yeah, what you saying was right. They only rented the drill instead of bought it, and because of that, we weren't able to really tap into the oil reserve that the country had. So let me stick up in there. You would have heard Dr. Rowley continuously be saying, ban the belly till 2030 and things will get better. Ban the belly till 2030, things will get better, right? Fast forward to now, but rewind a little bit to a couple weeks and a couple days ago. So Venezuela had a shake-up, right? Trinidad and Tobago had an unearthing, and we've been having it a little frequently, especially in the areas where you have the mud volcanoes and stuff. Let me explain to you what is happening. There is an oil seep over from the pool that is within the Venezuelan, oh gosh, what you call it? Oh gosh, help me somebody. Yeah, there is a seep over from the oil reserve pool in Venezuela. Oil is a replenishing thing. Oil and gas is a replenishing thing. Or crude is a replenishing thing. And when it is not being extracted, what happens is it finds ways to move. So what has been happening for the past couple of years, since Venezuela was on a standstill, and then we went on a standstill from when we shut down Petrotrin and then started back with Heritage and the Dragon deal and whatnot. So the crude was not being extracted at the pace it needed to be, so that the area under the earth would have continued to be stable. So Venezuela had an earthquake, and that earthquake was majorly because of the oil seeping over and moving and finding new ways to settle. The seismic specialists and the geologists came up, I think, just the other day, and they said it's the plates and they shifted and all of that. They could call it what they want, right? Because quite back in 2016, this was news back in international news, right? That this was coming, this time was coming. So stick up in there. We have not been paying attention to what is the nexus. Yeah, we are not paying attention to what is the genesis, and we're not putting it together in order to understand what is really happening. So let me just enlighten all you a little bit. You see that fiasco that the government is trying to go after the Syrian community? That is simply because they want to have a hostile takeover of all the industries, which are the major industries for our country, both for domestic and operational or industrial needs of our country. So the domestic needs, which is the individuals, and then the needs of the country itself. The Syrian community, they pretty much run most all of that. And that is the 1% that the UNC government is supporting PNM, right? But they weren't able to gain that support for the UNC government. When they had their little meeting, it didn't go too well. So the next plan was to remove their stronghold on those industries, transition it to the UNC 1% financiers, so that the boom that is coming, because Trinidad and Tobago is going to have another boom. Dr. Rowley said ban oil belly till 2030. That is because it was already assessed that another boom was coming, and Trinidad would have been back to a position of having, but we would have had to do a lot in the meantime to get to that approach. Yeah, do what would have been necessary to sustain us. So when they transition the powers that the 1% Syrian has to the 1% Indo-Trinidadian has. Now they would be in control of the domestic and the industrial elements of Trinidad and Tobago. And then what will happen is that when the boom comes, so when the boom comes, they would be the stronger party and would be able to do whatever they want because they will now have a controlling interest. Yeah? So a lot of people are not understanding what's really going on, but that is what is going on. That is what is going on. Because two things for certain. When you have money or believe you have some level of power in this country, you do not send a threat. You fulfill a promise. So for you to tell me and want me to believe that these people threaten the lives of the government or the prime minister, but you're still walking around, you're still breathing, tells me that you want to buy us for a fool and sell us for a fool in the same breath. But if you understand forensic economic assessment, you would realize for a long time now this was in the making. And Dr. Rowley, again, I want to say this clearly, Dr. Rowley said it, there is going to be a boom coming again. He asked the nation was to ban their belly till 2030 because it was already considered a done deal. Then you could go back to some comments that even Patrick Manning would have said as well, so that you would have known that it was already in the pipeline and alluded that another boom was coming. All this UNC government is trying to do is capitalize on it. You know why? And I'll drive you a little further in. That's why I mentioned the Venezuela earthquake. Maduro tried to hold out for the 2030. That is why he banned alliances with Trinidad for the Dragon deal, so that they would have had some level of extraction being done and some level of gain. So by the time the boom happened, they would have been able to reposition themselves as the Venezuela that was great back then, right? The United States knew this. They are aware of this. Hence the reason why they made sure that they did a hostile takeover of Venezuela in order to position themselves in a mode or to be able to benefit from what will be coming, right? And in that mode, the alliance with our Prime Minister was established, and then all of a sudden you start to see a chess game being played and all the pawns were being moved in order to checkmate or attack the king.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are. So guys, in today's video we will be talking about water in Trinidad and Tobago, that is specifically water crisis. So that's one of the challenges that faces so many developing countries. But in today's video, we will listen to Trinidadians. We will actually interpret and analyze what's happening, what is the cause of all this, so that, you know, we may be able to also understand, because it's very important. You know, developing countries, we actually boast, or we are rather proud of, democracy. So if you are in Trinidad and Tobago, I don't know whether you've already turned on your taps like a couple of days ago or even recently, and then you noticed that there was nothing coming out of that particular tap of yours. And it's not like it's something that you've been experiencing for some hours or for a day, but for a couple of days. If you have ever experienced that in the year 2026. Remember, we are in July heading to August, so the topic is very important. Now, I want you to imagine that particular situation happening to you while actually you're trying to cook. You open your tap, or rather you're trying to bathe your children, or rather you've just started like showering, and then in the middle, hey, there is nothing. Oh my God. Even business people, you cannot run a business without water, especially hotel business. So that's something that is trying to become or rather that's something that is becoming the reality of many people in Trinidad and Tobago. And the strange part is that this is not just one of the poorest countries in the Caribbean island. No, it's not. Trinidad and Tobago, on several occasions, has earned billions from oil and natural gas. I will say that it has some of the most regions developed, or rather, let me put it like this: Trinidad and Tobago is one of the most developed regions in the Caribbean because it has several industries. But with all that, many Trinidadians are still worrying about water, which is a basic need. And I'm wondering, how did Trinidad and Tobago get to this particular point? How is it that a country that is blessed so much with resources, it struggles to deliver one of the life's most essential needs, that is water? And of course, the biggest question is not, the biggest question here that we should be asking ourselves, if this is just a water crisis or it has become a full-blown political crisis. Because you see, once people of Trinidad and Tobago lose confidence that the government can provide clean and reliable water, then everything else that comes into place will be questioned. So today I want us to talk about what's really happening. We'll majorly be talking about the basic need, water. So I want us also to understand, how did this crisis start? Who is responsible? Why is it that every political party in Trinidad and Tobago is now feeling like the pressure is going up? And why is it that many Trinidadians believe that this issue could shape the country's political future? So as you all know, water is something that most of us really think about. You can't live with water. You can't live without food but not water. And this is very precious until that time that it's gone. You see, when the taps are flowing, so many lives are changing in a positive way. And in fact, immediately. Because these simple tasks that has been happening, or you've been doing every day, when the taps go dry, these tasks become very difficult. And instantly, you'll see many communities, they start storing water in buckets. Everywhere, any storage that they can get. You'll see businesses spend money buying water from rivers. You'll see schools adjusting. That's how important water is. Health facilities will face additional pressure and frustrations will build up. So for many years in Trinidad and Tobago, water interruptions have affected many communities in different ways. We've actually seen some communities and neighborhoods that have grown, using scheduled water restrictions, which is unfair. In fact, in my community, that still happens. We've seen many people complain that scheduled water supplies are rarely followed. So most of the time you'll see people say that they have actually never known when this water will arrive or not, because it's very unpredictable. You don't know when it's coming, when it's disappearing, and that's one of the worst things that can ever happen So WASA, or rather the Water and Sewerage Authority, which is the body that governs how water is supplied in Trinidad and Tobago, they are saying that managing the country's water supply has become challenging, and it's mostly challenging during dry seasons. So this agency, sometimes you'll see them activating dry season management measures, which makes sense. You'll see them talking about conservation of water and so many other things. But something interesting is that at the beginning of this year, 2026, Trinidad's major reservoirs were actually reported to be in a very healthy condition. And, we are talking about Arena Reservoir, which is actually it was close to full. And if you look at other major reservoirs in Trinidad and Tobago, they were like above 90% of the capacity of the water that it holds. So we have those that manage this particular department or organization, and they have come out and said that Trinidad and Tobago was going into a dry season, and they were encouraging the people to store more water. So naturally, if they come out and say something like that, people will start asking questions. If you are claiming that the reservoirs are 90% full, why is it that we are still struggling with water? So I can tell you that the entire conversation becomes tricky when people start complaining, because you see, this is not just about nature, it's about also infrastructure and planning and maintenance, and of course some politics here and there. But the real issue is that our water doesn't simply disappear after leaving a reservoir. It has to go to people, their homes, their communities. It has to pass through pumping stations, treatment plants, valves, distribution networks. And if the system that they are using to do all that is old and poorly maintained, or it's leaking, then Trinidad and Tobago will be losing huge amount of water. And that would mean less water is reaching to the people. So that's why many experts in Trinidad and Tobago are saying that when it comes to solving Trinidad's water problem, it is not about finding more water, it's about fixing the system that delivers it to the people. Okay, I know it's very easy to say that and very hard to be done, because most of this infrastructure is very old. And if you talk about replacing it, it's going to take so much time. It's going to take a lot of planning. And more importantly, it will need money, budgeting and everything, But again, it's sad that this life-saving basic need is also in politics or gets political. Because you see, most of the time, when these successive governments happen, they promise improvements, they promise more water. And for many Trinidad and Tobago people, they have experienced these elections or election season whereby promises about better public service, reliable water, modern infrastructure, good things, they have actually been experiencing promises over promises over promises. Yet many of these communities say that they are still facing water shortage in Trinidad and Tobago. They are still complaining of the same issue, unreliable water, after very many years. So at this point, you'll find Trinidadians, they'll stop believing the promises and they'll start demanding for results. And that's when frustration will come in. And when frustration comes in, we all know that uncertainty will kick in. And it will be very hard for Trinidadians to believe all this. Lastly, you'll see anger in people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that's not nice. You know, if there is something that our leaders have really failed, especially in these third world countries, if there is something that our leaders have really failed in, is to exercise, democracy. It's like most of them come in to just enrich themselves, which is very wrong. If you look at what's happening with the water issue in Trinidad and Tobago, I know you'll be wondering and asking yourself, like, what exactly went wrong? Was it bad weather? Was it a climate change issue? Or it's something that is deeper that happened and we don't know about all this? So people want to know the real issue, the root cause. And of course, we need, I know, it's very difficult to get that answer straight to the point, but climate change, of course, it has made life harder, because you see, with climate change, it has really affected many countries in a negative way. I wouldn't say that it has affected any country in a positive way. So if you look at also the weather conditions, this unpredictable weather conditions has come in and contributed to water crisis in Trinidad and Tobago. Nowadays, rainfall pattern has changed, not like in the past, whereby we could actually know, like, between this month and this month, we're either expecting short or long rains, and it used to happen, but nowadays it doesn't happen because of unpredictable rain patterns that keeps changing. Nowadays we just experience long rains, intense rains, dry, just any month. And of course, we have weather experts in Trinidad and Tobago, the meteorologists, who have actually warned that Trinidad and Tobago must manage its water, because, as you all know, the climate is changing. And that will mean that if you are managing water using old system, then that's not going to work, because climate change alone is not going to help us understand everything. At this point in time, every Caribbean country is actually facing the same problem of water. And that tells us that so much is happening. So the biggest issue that many Trinidadians point out is that the country's water infrastructure is so old. You see, some pipelines that supply water to the people, they have been underground for decades. They have even never been checked if it's okay, if they are in good condition or not. So if you look at these issues, many have actually reached dead end. And dead end, I mean that if that pipe was to last for 10 years, then at this point it has stayed for over a century. and that will mean leakages are happening. And in places where these particular repairs need to be worked on, probably it has not been worked on. And that's why at some point you could see Trinidadians having some brown water. I think it's because of the leakages. So, of course, you all know that water needs to be treated, pumped, supplied, and then it gets to leak into the ground before anyone uses it. So it has already gone into waste, and that's money that has disappeared already, because every liter of water that is lost, that means that someone had already paid for it. So others have, okay, these charges that you pay for water, it goes to the pumping, to distribution, to the water itself. So if you put yourself in this situation whereby water is leaking across the entire country, then that is a massive loss. And that's exactly why experts in Trinidad and Tobago, most of the time they say that we need to fix these leakages. Anyway, fixing it is not like going to solve the entire problem, but at least, you know, the authorities should show concern. And about this issue to do with WASA, Water and Sewerage Authority, this particular body has been under scrutiny for so many years. They have been struggling financially, by the way. And some people believe that the organization, you know, are facing operational inefficiencies, maintenance backlog, delays because of financial struggles. And you know, it's very hard to ask for money, a lot of money from the people when they are not getting water, when their taps are empty. It's very difficult. So, okay, we all know that there's no single administration that can solve this particular water issue in Trinidad and Tobago in a day. We agree. That's true. Because you see, most of these problems that are this big, they rarely appear in one election cycle. They build over several years. And if the government doesn't talk on it, then it's going to be transferred to the next and to the next and to the next government. I don't know what you think about that, guys. Probably you could comment down below. Let us know what you think about water crisis in Trinidad and Tobago. Because you see, it's very important to understand what's our problem, how we need to fix it. So for many years, the government of Trinidad and Tobago have been announcing plans, new projects, new investment, new everything, new plant. But again, promises have never turned into action. But of course, we've had some that have been completed. Some have been delayed. And you know, all this comes with a price, because each and every time the governments change. And of course, when a new government comes in, they'll not want to continue with a previous project by the previous government, because the credit will go to them and they don't want that. So as a Trinidadian, what do you think? Thank you if you watched the clip up to this point. Kindly subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.